Welcome to the Power of One. Today I have a powerhouse with me, Maleka, who was with the Germantown Info Hub. I met her years ago, but everybody knows that I'm a mover and a shaker, and I want to be associated with movers and shakers. And I knew I was not letting her out of my life, even if she wanted to be out of my life. Welcome to the show, Maleka.
Thank you so much for having me, Melanie, and I am very glad to still be in your life.
I love it. I love it when people cooperate that I want in my life. So that's a good thing. But like I tell all the viewers about your connection with Germantown, what you're doing in Germantown, and all the fun things that you're doing in Germantown.
Well, I've been a neighbor here for almost 20 years. I raised all four of my kids here. And, we actually met each other through a solutions journalism class at Temple University. They were doing this pilot project where they had Temple University students coming together with Germantown residents and people who live and work in Germantown, and really just exploring the ways that community centered journalism could work. And one thing led to another. They got some big grants from Independence Public Media Foundation, and I was able to officially come on as a community reporter and a community organizer for Germantown Info Hub. And Germantown Info Hub is a hyper-local newsroom. We are currently in about our seventh year, and we really share community-centered and solutions-driven stories of, for, and with the Germantown neighborhood. So, what does that mean? It really means that we really focus on trying to find stories that really highlight community assets, highlight community organizations and community organizers that are trying to work on solutions for all the different challenges that our neighborhood faces and probably many neighborhoods in Philadelphia. We have recently covered stories on the Philly Joy Bank, which is this program that gives pregnant mothers guaranteed income. We've also done stories on profiles on a local poet named Lindo Yes, who just published a really great comic book about universal health care. So, just like a lot of different stories, and that's all on our website. And we also do a lot of direct community engagement in person. We do a lot of tabling. I know me and you did some tabling all throughout the neighborhood. We talked about all kinds of different things with neighbors. We asked questions with neighbors. We went to festivals. We went right in front of Northwest Victim Services and set up a table and just talked to people walking down the street, walking on the sidewalk, and asked them what they wanted to know about in their neighborhood. And that's some of the things that we do with our direct engagement.
That's awesome. Now, did you see a trend when you were doing tabling events or when your coworkers were doing tabling events on what a specific need was, or is it just a variety?
Well, I think one of the things is that people are oversaturated with news. They're oversaturated with information. We've got information at our fingertips, and yet at the same point in time, we feel like uh, the news is not something for us. A lot of people start avoiding the news. And why are they avoiding the news? Because it most of the news seems like it's really centered on the problem. There are problems. We have lots of things going on that people really are having challenges with. A lot of people come up to us in tabling and ask us where are uh, where are places that they can find affordable housing. They ask us questions about gun violence solutions and gun violence prevention. They ask us questions about all kinds of different things. And I think that people are looking for solutions. They're looking for hope. They're looking for ways to really be an important change in their community. And they want to feel empowered. So I think that's part of what our newsroom is trying to do, is trying to be part of that solution, trying to share news, trying to share information, and trying to share stories that really motivate, that inspire, that really connect people. So one of the things that we really try to do is share stories that where why is there a community organizer in a newsroom? I mean, usually that's not a position. I think what one of my roles at Germantown Info Hub is really using our stories and using our editorial engagement to connect people in the neighborhood to each other, where we say, okay, I know that you like Executive Director Melany Nelson is working on gun violence prevention and other things at Northwest Victim Services. Oh, I would love for you to connect with Joe Budd at Men Who Care on these specific issues. And you do a lot of the same things in your organization and in your work, but this is the work that I'm doing through media and through journalism.
Okay. You recently worked on a project which I thought was very, very interesting. Tell us about the project, how it started, what agencies did you go to, and then the launch of the project.
Okay, thank you for setting me up like that. We recently created a new editorial product. And what we did is we knew that we wanted to start a neighborhood specific text line. The text line would be a weekly message to people curating, text-sized information and stories right to your phone. But we wanted to make sure that it was useful, that it really spoke to what people in the neighborhood needed and what they wanted. And so from January to March of this year, we set up listening sessions all throughout the neighborhood with all kinds of different people, including Northwest Victim Services. So one of the listening sessions was with Northwest Victim Services, with people who not only work with clients and different people who have been affected by gun violence, but people who have been directly affected by gun violence themselves. They talked to us about what they thought was important. They talked about the ways that they wanted to get information and news. We talked to different registered community organizations, RCOs. We talked to Friends of Vernon Park. We had a listening session at Why Not Prosper with a group of women there. All of them were formerly incarcerated, and many of them do outreach work now. They had great ideas about doing the actual outreach to even distribute the text line, and they said, make sure that you are really letting people know about this text line that might need this information. And one of the things that we did was like basically just compile what everybody said. What were they interested in hearing about? People were interested in a lot of different things. They were interested in events. They were interested in local events. They were interested in emergency alerts. They were interested in creative ways to use the text line, because this text line that we have that the platform that we use, it's able to be interactive. People can respond, they can ask questions, and a reporter can answer them, can find information for them. So we knew that it could be interactive. They wanted to make sure that it didn't overlap with some of the information that email, newsletters, and all many different community organizers in Germantown. Germantown, as you know, it's very engaged, it's very active. There's a lot of community organizers and community leaders that send out a lot of information. They wanted to make sure that it didn't overlap so much, or that it compiled things in a way that made sense. And so there was a lot of different feedback we were getting. We put that together, and we put together how often people would want a text message, and we launched it in June, right around Juneteenth, and we for once a week, actually it came out this Wednesday. On Wednesday afternoons, we send out a text message with information about events that week, or information about this week. We sent out information about Center in the Park, which is our senior community center right in Vernon Park. Lots of different free programs and activities. A few weeks ago, I got in touch with a few of the directors and I said, tell us your fall lineup and tell us what you think people should know this fall. And so they said, we're going to have an open house next week and this kind of thing and that kind of thing. And so that was the text message for this week. So this is the thing that I think I'm hoping will be relevant. And even if it's not every message is relevant to your specific, identity or experience, that somebody that are like, oh, somebody can use this and pass on the information.
So I have a question. Northwest
Sure.
Victim Services has a fundraiser that's coming up October the 23rd. So could this be something that could go on the text line?
I think it could. I would definitely love to share the Northwest Victim Services fundraising. And really, I want to share about Northwest Victim Services in general in the text line, about all the great work that you do, and just like really just push people to the website and understand, and to your social media, and just understand what you and your small team like really do for people who have been affected by crime in Northwest Philadelphia. So yes, we can
Sounds
definitely
good.
talk about that.
Sounds good. You being a reporter, how important is it for you to tell the story correctly? And as you said, people shy away from reporters. Is that because sometimes the story is not always told correctly? It hurts those who are affected by crime, it hurts survivors of homicide. How important is it for you as a reporter to make sure you get all stories correctly?
Well, thank you for the question. I think it's important to most journalists to get it correct, but I think that where I'm coming from is from an engagement standpoint.
Okay.
I am a community organizer first. That's what I identify as first, and then as a journalist. And I think journalists do want to tell the truth, but I think there's so many examples of being on a deadline, or really, honestly, not being familiar with the neighborhood, the beat they're working on, or whatever the case may be, because there's no deep relationship there. Um,
Mm,
and the reason why I feel so invested with what I do and to get it right is because I'm invested in this neighborhood. I definitely have a bias, and my bias is towards Germantown, Germantown and Northwest Philadelphia. And and I want to make sure that I'm telling the stories in the most accurate and the best way possible, the most honest way possible that I can tell them. I'm not going to go home and have a story out there that doesn't represent someone when they could be my neighbor right down the street. I'm
mhm,
invested in this neighborhood deeply. I believe in this neighborhood deeply. I I believe that all our neighbors really, really matter, and that I want their stories to be heard and to be honored,
mhm.
especially people who have lost someone to gun violence, especially people like that. And that's why when you asked me to be a board member for Northwest Victim Services, it was not a question of can I do this, but it was a question of I've got to do this. Let me just figure it out, because this is something that is very, very important to me.
And I know you are an awesome reporter and you're an awesome person. And that's why I really wanted you to be connected to Northwest Victim Services. And I know that you would tell your story. But, oftentimes we see on the news and we see in the newspaper that everything is not always correct. So that was
Yeah.
not towards you. I just know,
Yeah.
you're a reporter. And I want people to know there are good stand up reporters that
Yeah.
really care about people. Tell people how they can sign up for the text line.
Well, after this TV show is done, I can give you links to the website where you can sign up online. And I can give you the phone number where you can text the word G-Town right to the phone number, and it will sign you right up to the text line. Um, but yes, thank you so much for that.
Okay, you're welcome. So in the Germantown community, and I love Germantown, I just think it's so beautiful, it's historic. So where does the Germantown community begin? And I know Chestnut Hill, but like what would we say is the actual Germantown area? Or do you guys go by like zip codes?
Well, I mean, we do mostly stick to the 19144 and the 19138, although, that overlaps a little bit into other neighborhoods. But let me just make it clear. I was not born and raised here. And I have to make that clear because there are multiple generations here that have been here for many, many decades, and they know best. So let me make that clear. But as far as I know, from the time I have been here, I would say that the northern hemisphere of Germantown stops at Johnson Street.
Okay.
I think the southern stops right around, okay, now I'm trying to, Roberts, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, Roberts, and then go around to the other side. I would believe it would be Stanton. That would be
Okay.
my guess. And then,
Okay.
yeah, so that's kind of like, I'm kind of giving you a little,
Yeah. And the 3-8 kind of like touches a little bit of West Oak Lane. That's where I'm born and
yes.
raised, but still
Definitely,
Germantown.
definitely. So see, you would know. Like, yeah, I think it kind of touches West Oak Lane. It over
Yeah.
overlaps it, but yeah.
Okay. All right. So you being on the Northwest Victim Services Board, please tell the viewers about a very fun fundraiser we have coming up and who we will be honoring.
Well, it's like I said, I am honored to be a part of Northwest Victim Services Board, and really just have an even deeper relationship with y'all and with the people that you're serving. And we need help. We need financial support. This is a small team, and y'all are doing the work of 10 people, but y'all have what, 5 people? Y'all have 3 people. Okay. They have 3 people. Okay. And they do the work of 10 people. We know this as a board, I know this as a board member, but I also knew this as a community reporter. I knew this as a neighbor. I could see everything that y'all have done. It's such important work to really support the free and holistic services that Northwest Victim Services offer to people who have been affected by crime. I mean, they're in the y'all are there for people in their worst and most vulnerable times of their lives. And I have seen it play out where, people have been in relationship with you for many years, Melanie, and with your team because of all the intimate work that you've done with them. And so I know that this is important work, and I know that this is work that is now losing funding. It's losing
Yeah.
federal funding, it's losing funding for victim services all over, and so we really need people to financially support this important work. We are having a chicken and waffles fundraiser in October 23rd. 2025. From 5:30 to 6:30, we're having our reception, correct?
5:30 to 6 will be the reception.
Okay.
And then we'll start the brief ceremony where we're
Okay.
going to honor two amazing agencies. Your Destiny is Here and Bio One Philly. Now, these two agencies never fail to pick up the phone when I call. It could be holidays, weekends. They are so beneficial to the Northwest Victim Services Agency. Your Destiny is Here will help me if I have a family who has lost a loved one and they can't pay to lay their loved one to rest.
Mm,
They have donated beds to kids who have lost a parent. They have donated toys. They do so much and they don't ask questions. They know if I reach out, it is a family in need. And Bio One Philly helps with the crime scene cleanup. So there are times when, unfortunately, someone is shot in their car, in their home. or if someone lost their life, the Bio One Philly will do the crime scene cleanup for us. And for the victims compensation program, the reimbursement is only $500. But
Mm.
that is a low price for Bio One Philly. They just do it on the strength of helping people. They're not in it for the money. So we're going to honor them. But most of the evening is going to be filled with just fun, eating, and dancing. And it is chicken fingers and waffles fundraiser because Northwest Victim Services has their finger on the pulse of the people.
Yes, I am so glad that you described those two organizations that we're honoring with all the services they do, because I think another thing is that this is work that people don't know about unless you know about it. Like
Exactly.
you would never, I don't think people would understand about a crime scene unless it happened to them, unless it happened to a direct family member. And I think that people have to understand, like, these are things that, like, all these little details that go into what goes on before, during, after crime. I mean, it really it's just work that I think is unnoticed, it's unobserved, unless you unfortunately are a victim of crime. And so I'm really glad that you even that you're talking about what these people and these organizations do. This is the kind of work that Northwest Victim Services is always touching upon, I think. And I think that it's just necessary work.
And all proceeds will be used to help those affected by crime. But most importantly, we want to help carjacking victims and victims who have their cars stolen because those victims slip through the crack. I can't file a claim for them through victims compensation because the cars are property damage. Even if they have to buy a new registration, if they have to buy a new tag because they stole their tag, which they're doing, I cannot file a claim through victims' compensation. So all proceeds will be used to help those affected by crime, but most importantly, carjacking victims and victims who have their cars stolen. So we are looking forward to having fun with you. So please join us. You can contact me directly at 267 808 0350 or go to our website at northwestvictimservices.org. But hopefully
Yes.
you will be able to join us. We are looking forward to having fun with you. Peace and love.